Tonight, the president's son, defiant.
My father was not financially involved in my business.
Hunter Biden's shocking public statement. Plus, former President Trump out in front.
Oh, I'm not a threat. I will save democracy. The threat is crooked Joe Biden.
What's in store if the Republican frontrunner wins a second term in 2024? Plus, the United Nations demands a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. And Blue Christmas.
What we need to do is give them grace and not pressure.
Getting through the holidays following a major loss. All this and more tonight on Fake Nation.
The president's son lashes out ahead of a House vote on an impeachment inquiry into the commander-in-chief. Good evening, I'm Jenna Browder.
And from the studio in our Washington News Bureau, I'm John Jessup. Well, House lawmakers started the day on Capitol Hill debating whether to pass an impeachment inquiry against President Biden. Before it was all said and done, House lawmakers now threatening contempt of Congress proceedings against the president's son.
The latest legal firestorm began after Hunter Biden declined to participate in a closed-door deposition today, instead choosing to address reporters outside the Capitol. CBN News Washington correspondent Hillary Powell is tracking the fallout. Hillary?
Well, Jenna, House Oversight Chair James Comer says he is already initiating contempt of Congress proceedings against Hunter Biden, saying he defied a lawful subpoena. Biden spoke out against the request for closed-door testimony as lawmakers prep an impeachment investigation into President Biden.
They have taken the light of my dad's love for me, and presented it as darkness. They have no shame.
In his first public statement since 2 criminal indictments, Hunter Biden made a statement on Capitol Hill slamming House Republicans for targeting his father. Republicans are seeking to tie President Joe Biden to his son Hunter's business dealings as part of an impeachment inquiry, which Hunter rejects.
And in the depths of my addiction, I was extremely irresponsible with my finances. But to suggest that as grounds for an impeachment inquiry is beyond the absurd. It's shameless. There is no evidence to support the allegations that my father was financially involved in my business because it did not happen.
House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer swiftly issued a joint statement with House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan saying, quote, "We will not provide special treatment because his last name is Biden." Last month, Comer subpoenaed Hunter to sit for a closed-door deposition as part of the committee's impeachment probe. Hunter says he's only willing to testify in public.
This is an investigation of Joe Biden. Hunter Biden's a key witness because we have a simple question, and the majority of Americans have a question. What did the Bidens do to receive tens of millions of dollars from our enemies around the world?
Democrats see the impeachment inquiry as unnecessary.
They have not laid a glove on President Biden, and they have no evidence of him committing any offense, much less an impeachable offense.
Hunter says his lifelong struggle with alcoholism and drug abuse shouldn't be pulled into the investigation.
They belittled my recovery, and they have tried to dehumanize me, all to embarrass and damage my father, who has devoted his entire public life to service.
Okay, separately, Hunter Biden faces criminal charges in 2 states following a special counsel investigation. Now, holding an individual in criminal contempt of Congress for evading a subpoena requires both the Oversight and Judiciary Committees to meet again and to vote on the contempt resolution before it could even go to the House floor. And that likely will not happen until after the Christmas holiday.
All right, Hillary, thank you very much. Well, to election 2024, we're just weeks away from the Iowa caucus. And with the president's polling numbers at an all-time low, the race for the White House is ramping up.
And right now, polls show former President Donald Trump, running away in the GOP primary, possibly winning the general election against President Biden. CBN White House correspondent Abigail Robertson joins us from the White House with what a second term for President Trump might look like. Abigail.
Well, John, former President Trump has been touting his plans for a second term on the campaign trail before votes are even cast. And chief among them is political payback.
They've opened up a Pandora's box, and I only can say to Joe is be very careful what you wish for.
Trump made headlines telling Sean Hannity the vision for day one of his presidency.
We love this guy. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, "No, no, no, other than day one. We're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator."
Trump describes his 2024 platform as big ideas, bold ambitions, and daring dreams.
2024 with the agenda. It is very bold and forward-looking and very patriotic.
Trump promises to rebuild the economy by making America a manufacturing superpower and energy independent.
Here's his best ammo, if you will, and it's Joe Biden. I mean, he's pretty much running against what Biden has done the last 4 years.
Trump says he will shut down Biden's border disaster with plans to deputize the National Guard to remove illegal gang members and criminals, while calling for drug smugglers and human traffickers to receive the death penalty. He also pledges to end birthright citizenship for babies born in the U.S. In regard to the former president's ongoing legal issues, so far, they've only seemed to boost his support.
Voters see themselves a bit in Donald Trump because pro-lifers have been under attack. Parents at school boards have been, conservative parents that have been speaking out at school board meetings have been under attack by the DOJ as well. So there's evidence to suggest that Trump is not the only one. If it was just Trump and everybody else was treated fairly, that'd be one thing.
Nathan Gonzalez from Inside Elections tells CBN News a second term for Trump would look much different than his first.
I think a second Trump term would be some folks taking advantage of an opportunity to drastically change the scope and the role of government, but also an opportunity for Trump to exact revenge on people who he feels have done him wrong.
And he thinks voters should pay close attention to what Trump is saying on the campaign trail.
If Trump wins, I don't think it's going to be because people were listening to everything he was saying he was doing. It will be because Biden is old, or people don't feel secure, and they want something different than Biden, not that they are for some broad Trump agenda or they are for pardoning, January 6th insurrectionists.
Well, right now, a Trump versus Biden rematch seems likely on the horizon. A lot could happen between now and November 2024 to shake this race up. John, Jenna.
All right, CBN White House correspondent Abigail Robertson. Thank you so much, Abby. Well, the Supreme Court once again set to weigh in on the abortion debate this upcoming term. Justices agreeing to hear a case that could limit access to a commonly used abortion pill called mifepristone. The case centers around how the Food and Drug Administration allows the pill to be prescribed. It was approved 23 years ago for use and required an in-person prescription, but it's been available through telemedicine and by mail since 2016. This is the first abortion case the court will hear since the monumental Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade.
Katie Daniel is the state policy director at the pro-life Susan B. Anthony list, and she joins us now. Katie, welcome. So let's talk about what this case could mean for mifepristone. Could the Supreme Court rule to ban it outright, or is this really more about how the drug is allowed to be prescribed?
Well, the court has signaled that in this case, what they're really focused on is whether the FDA broke the law when it brought these drugs to market, and then subsequently when it changed the rules, loosening them up for how the drugs were regulated. So it seems like the court's not going to take that issue on directly. It's something that's going to be key to the trial. But for right now, the court is focused on whether the FDA broke its own rules and federal law. And so far, 2 courts have already found that it probably did.
So you just discussed there a little bit about FDA protocol. Let's talk about the drug itself and some of its side effects. The FDA lists side effects as nausea, weakness, fever, chills, vomiting, headache, diarrhea, and dizziness. Could the safety concerns of mifepristone affect the court's decision?
Well, everything that you listed is true. The FDA also has this drug under a black box. That is their most serious safety regulation. It says that both the public and medical professionals need to understand that these are inherently dangerous medications. So everything you listed is true. Death is also a side effect. Women have died from taking these pills as prescribed. So it's inherently risky. It's something the public should know about. And it's a huge part of this case because what's at issue is whether the FDA took those risks seriously enough when it allowed these pills to be sent through the mail, including to children without their parents knowing.
So we're expecting a ruling in June. Katie, how do you foresee these 9 justices ruling in this case?
Well, this is really a case about the FDA. Of course, it's an abortion case. These are the abortion drugs, and the industry and the Biden administration want to send them through the mail. But ultimately, it's about whether the FDA followed the law and did their due diligence. It's very clear that they did not. And so far, 2 other federal courts have already found that and said that the FDA needs to go back and do its due diligence and protect the public. So we're optimistic that the Supreme Court will agree with these other 2 courts and find the same thing.
Katie, if that is the case, is there any concern about voter backlash like we've seen since the Dobbs case? We've seen several state referenda where abortion was put on the ballot, and overwhelmingly in all these states, many red states, they've voted to uphold what the right, what the left calls women's reproductive rights.
Well, we've certainly seen many in the media, present company excluded, lying about what the abortion industry is up to. But when you poll people directly, they don't want pills sent through the mail. They don't trust that the FDA has their best interests in mind and that it's not responsive to big pharma, which is who's bringing this case. It is the drug manufacturer who says we will lose money if safeguards are reimposed on these medications. And they certainly don't want drugs sent to kids in the mail. So we think the American people are with us, and we look forward to them learning more about these dangerous drugs.
All right, Katie Daniel with the Susan B. Anthony list. We thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
International pressure for ceasefire in the war in Gaza, what that means for Israel and the Hamas terror group, coming up.
Welcome back. The United Nations is demanding a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. This as Israel begins an operation pumping seawater into Hamas tunnels.
That's right. President Biden, though, weighing in, exposing a potential rift with Israel over the war, accusing the Jewish nation of, quote, indiscriminate bombing, costing Israel support around the world. While not legally binding, more than 150 UN member countries voted for a humanitarian ceasefire in the war. The United States joined Israel and 8 other countries in opposition to yesterday's United Nations resolution. The families of American hostages held by Hamas met with the president at the White House today.
Pray for us, pray for our families, pray for our leaders, pray for the president. We love a Christmas miracle. We would love all of our loved ones to come back and be with us for Christmas.
Well, as the war rages on, hundreds of thousands of Israeli reserves are serving on the front lines, leaving a situation, to use a biblical reference, where the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few.
In southern Israel, Jewish communities stand empty and fields are filled with crops yet to be harvested. That's why Christians from all over the world are coming to Israel to help. Paul Strand reports.
One major reason led 75 Christians from 10 different nations to visit Israel in the middle of a war, risking danger and paying high travel costs. They say it's to be the hands, feet, and hearts of firms' relief projects, which include cleaning up evacuated homes along the Gaza border and helping farmers in the field.
We have about 300 people serving in 5 different sites, helping to harvest vegetables, working in the agricultural space, and we're helping to repair and rebuild some bomb shelters, paint and clean to help these people that are about to return home.
Imagine taking all your vacation time and your vacation money and coming to a land at war just to help the people who live there.
This is a great time to come and show our love in practical ways and let them know that they are not alone. We Christians in other parts of the world are praying, and we feel so sorry. We feel their sadness.
It's a responsibility that you should take. We do need to take action. You can't just say, I'm standing with Israel and do nothing.
As the international volunteers are meeting Israelis, they're being asked, why have they come during a war?
And a lot of them are surprised that we would come now. And I think that's saying something, that we're not just coming to tour, but we're coming because we love you.
We're maybe 2 kilometers from the border, if that. And so people are here, and we're picking oranges and lemons and pomelos. Trees are overflowing. There's fruit falling on the ground. And so I would say the work is imperative. Produce in this area makes up 60 to 70% of our nation's produce.
I am 15 years old, and when I heard that I could actually come here and help with people who were affected by the war, I jumped at the chance.
The members of the community where the volunteers are working fled from the Hamas terrorists after October 7th.
I'm from Yavne, Israel, and I just finished my serving in the army. I think that the people of the road were really appreciated that the a Christian group of people from all over the world come here and just help them, I think it will maybe open their hearts too.
To see that non-Jews from countries they've never even heard of before are coming to serve and support during this time, it changes everything for them.
By the end of the day, homes are freshly painted, bomb shelters have makeovers, kitchens are spotless, and yards ready for the evacuees to come home. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Dakota, near the Gaza border.
Thank you, Paul. And while more Israeli reservists have responded than were called up by the IDF, the U.S. military has the opposite problem, experiencing one of its worst recruiting shortfalls since the draft ended 50 years ago.
And that's even true in a year of big bonuses and lowered enlistment requirements. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill want to know what's behind the recruiting crisis and how it can be turned around. As national security correspondent Caitlin Burke reports, there's a complex range of challenges.
In fiscal year 2023, the military branches collectively missed their recruiting goals by approximately 41,000 recruits. Wednesday, representatives from each testified about the underlying causes behind the shortfall.
30 years ago, when I was in high school, 40% of youth had a parent that served. But today, that number is under 13%.
While witnesses outlined challenges ranging from getting recruiters into schools during COVID to a decrease in eligibility, Republicans zeroed in on polling that suggests the problem is because the military has become, quote, the administration's next social justice project.
This poll, which we can all read, found that 73% of veterans believe that the U.S. military has become too political regarding race, gender, and sexuality. Even worse, a quarter of the veterans would tell a young person not to enlist.
We're now at the third time having this conversation about recruiting, and rather than actually listening to the genuine experts here who are saying it's complicated, because indeed it is complicated, we are still marching out these kinds of Breitbart, the provenance unknown questionnaires.
When cadets, military families, active duty members stop bringing us these issues, then we'll stop talking about it. But as long as they are, we have a duty to address these issues.
Only 2 military branches met their active duty enlisted recruiting goals for 2023, the Marine Corps and the Space Force. Alex Wagner, Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Manpower and Reserve Affairs, credits the success to a pilot program waiving previous requirements on body composition, tattoo placement, and THC use.
These and other efforts result in approximately 2,900 new enlisted accessions in FY23. That's 2,900 high-quality individuals with a propensity to serve that would have otherwise been excluded.
All branches admit it's critical to find ways to persuade Gen Z to take an interest in military service. That's because as one of the most tech-savvy generations, their skill sets will likely be key to future military readiness. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
All right, thank you, Caitlin. Well, for those dealing with the loss of a loved one this holiday season, Christmas can be a source of pain. When we come back, tips to cope.
Well, today, the Federal Reserve decided to leave interest rates unchanged, signaling 3 coming cuts to borrowing costs in the next year. This marks the 3rd consecutive meeting in which policymakers have chosen to hold interest rates at the current level, the highest in 22 years as the central bank works to combat persistent inflation. The Dow today closing at a record high.
Well, Christmas can be both joyous, of course, and painful, especially for those who have lost loved ones and are experiencing the holidays for the first time without them.
CBN medical reporter Lori Johnson spoke with a grief therapist about getting through the holidays following a major loss.
Mental health experts say people who normally love the Christmas season are often caught off guard by how little holiday cheer they have after losing a loved one.
They may be exhausted, and the depression and anxiety and sadness and grief may be so overwhelming. They're really not able to do the things that they've done before or show up in that same way. And that can take a lot of people by surprise.
That's why experts often recommend plans to scale back at Christmas.
One of actually the biggest pieces of advice I can give is to prepare as best you can for the holidays and the events.
That often involves informing others well in advance what to expect.
Let people know ahead of time that you may not stay the whole day, or that you're not able to give or cook or do the wrapping that you might have been doing, that you may actually have to leave, and also that you may not want to talk about your loss.
Friends and family should take this into account.
We should not expect so much from people who've gone through a major loss. I think what we need to do is give them grace and not pressure.
While letting go of some traditions can help ease the pain, starting new ones, specifically honoring their departed loved one, can keep their memory alive.
Creating a meal for this person, or lighting a candle at dinner and reading scripture or a poem or a piece that they love. It could be a Christmas wreath that you make, or a donation in their name.
Grief can also trigger faith struggles, even at Christmas.
So many of my clients have come to me and said, why would God do this? Why weren't my prayers listened to? And I think it's a really common experience. But I do want to say that it is not something that I have seen as being permanent.
Many people find comfort in church-based grief support groups.
It can be helpful even if you're struggling with faith-related, anything that feels faith-related, to, speak with like-minded people. God doesn't leave us, even if it feels that way in the moment.
So since the loss of a loved one can feel especially painful during the holidays, lowering expectations can often help grieving people manage the season. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Thank you, Lori, bringing Christmas joy to travelers through the gift of music. That's next on Faith Nation. All right, finally tonight, we are all familiar with the song, It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. I like Andy Williams'
It's in my head now.
rendition. But it's also one of the busiest for air travel.
That's right. This holiday season, though, passengers at the Sioux Falls Regional Airport in South Dakota are arriving to a special surprise. Members of the South Dakota Symphony Orchestra are performing for travelers this week at the airport. The Dakota String and Wind Quartets are serenading people as they arrive to the tune of Christmas classics. You can hear Joy to the World there. The group hopes to soothe busy air travelers and bring joy to the season. I think that is a nice way to travel.
There's nothing better than live music, especially Christmas music. How nice.
Something to get you in the Christmas spirit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it. Have a good night.